Okay.
On the last episode of Tnashi's Movie Corner, Tnashi and a friend decided that they were going to review Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But what they didn't know was that his very next video would be all about the top 10 Dragon Ball Z movies. So, without further ado, let's get into the action. So, coming in at number 10, we have Broly's Second Coming. It's a movie that just barely squeaked on my list, mostly because of Broly. I really like Broly as a character, not counting the third movie. And I think, he did really well here. I really liked seeing him fight off against Gohan, which we don't get until the last maybe third of the movie. But his interactions with Trunks and Goten were humorous. There's a slow build-up into this movie. I did like seeing Videl. I just like the fact that Broly lived after that first battle, which was kind of awesome. But, there's the ending does suck with Shenron not even showing up in the Dragon Balls, granting the wish for Goku to come down. The 3 Kamehamehas being what shoots Broly into the sun and has his heart explode, that was cool. That was really cool. But, overall, this just didn't make it up higher because there's a lot of pieces missing. Oh, I do gotta give. It was really funny. I do gotta give a little point for this movie. They have this scene where it looks like Piccolo shows up to save Gohan, and if you know anything about Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo shows up to save Gohan in like every movie, and it was hilarious because Gohan's sitting there and he thinks he sees Piccolo, and then come to find out it's not. It's actually Krillin, and I thought that was just great. So, for that reason, this movie comes in at number 10. So coming in at number 9, we have Cooler's Revenge. Again, this is another villain that I actually really liked. I liked Cooler. I liked the idea of Cooler, and he comes off like he's gonna be a badass or whatever. He's already in his final form, like what we see Frieza has, but it looks kind of better. I like the way it looks more so, and he just kind of shows up and shoots a death beam at Goku, and then Goku's taken out for part of the movie, and I'm like, well, that wasn't great. There's some humor involved, but it was when they fight again and you have the music going. If you watch the English dub, you have the rock music going, and saying that, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is really going. And then he doesn't waste much time. Cooler goes straight into revealing that he actually has a new final form, which we've already seen from the cover, but it looked really cool, and his voice was really cool, and he just starts beating the heck out of Goku. And then Goku turns Super Saiyan, and I was thinking, well, this turned around real quick. I don't like it. I don't like it being so one-sided like that. We knew Goku could become a Super Saiyan going into this movie, and now here he is, Super Saiyan. He's beating the crap out Cooler. But then Cooler does a shot where Goku's not even worried about it, and then all of a sudden he's got his energy ball that's going to destroy the Earth or whatever, because it doesn't take him much time to build it up. And then he ends up losing because he gets blasted through his own blast, hit by a Kamehameha into the sun. But thing is, like, for this movie, Cooler was actually cool, and I really liked him. I didn't like the final fight really at all. I didn't like much of it. There's little bits and pieces that were okay, but other than that,
I liked Cooler. It's a little bit of a slow build up, but I think it works a little better than Broly's Second Coming did for me. So, for that reason, it falls in at number 9. So coming in at number 8, we have Super Android 13. This one was kind of interesting, talking about Dr. Juro, who made 3 other androids or what have you. That was pretty cool. The androids themselves were interesting looking. The thing that really worked for me about this movie is that they had so many characters actually fighting. Piccolo actually tried fighting. They had Vegeta fighting. They had Future Trunks fighting. They didn't have Gohan do much, and they didn't have Krillin do much of anything. They were just kind of there for the comedy. But outside of Goku, they actually had other characters fighting. I really like that. And some of them got their moments. Vegeta got his moment. Trunks did a really cool thing with his sword, and I really like seeing that. Piccolo tried. But, obviously in the end it came down to Goku, as most of these do. And Goku's fight with Super Android 13 was really cool, going all the way up. Not as much when he absorbed the energy from the Spirit Bomb and became kind of like I want to say like the Joker mixed with Michael Jackson. Like, I don't know what was going on with that face. But, aside from that, I think the movie, it worked pretty well. It had nice bits of comedy to it and nice action scenes, and it actually is one of the few movies where the side characters get to do a little bit, and it seemed like it was a little more meaningful action. So, for that reason, that movie falls in at number 8. So coming in at number 7, we have Fusion Reborn. For me, this movie really works. I really enjoyed Janemba, both aspects of him. He did kind of come off as a little bit of a Majin Buu versus Kid Buu kind of thing, but he had some really cool techniques that he did, and we got to see Super Saiyan 3 Goku kind of get his butt kicked a little bit. We also got some humorous stuff on, Earth had some callbacks to some of the old enemies, as well as a kind of Hitler reference, which was interesting. And of course, since it's called Fusion Reborn, we get we get kind of Gogeta, which is cool for those outside of seeing the movies. We saw like Super Saiyan for Gogeta in GT, but it was really cool to see Gogeta here and see how powerful he was. And it wasn't like it was so easy for them to go into, so you had a little bit of humor going there as well. The only thing, like a couple things I want to like, Pycon was very underutilized, and I thought it was really cool when he showed up, but then they didn't really do anything with him. So I was like, okay. And also that I say the Gogeta and Janemba thing was cool. It was cool for the few seconds it lasted. It wasn't nearly long enough. And again, it was so one-sided. I hate these fights that just suddenly switch so abrupt. Like, why are you switching so much? They should be a little more on par. That's what would build up the tension better. That's what would have us more invested. Don't do that. Don't just make it so obviously one-sided like that. But that's my little problems with it. Again, it had the humor. It did have action. It did have good action for it. It had the nice callbacks and everything, and I think it worked relatively well. So that's why it comes in at number 7. So coming in on the list at number 6, I have Resurrection F, which is the latest movie, Dragon Ball Z movie released. We get Gold Frieza, and the movie works pretty well. I've pretty much already said my bit on it in my review, so you can go watch that. The movie's kind of lower on the list because of some of the problems I did mention, and I just feel like overall there's movies that actually work, that just work a little better for me. However, I'm say up front, the animation is beautiful. It was nice to see, Frieza come back again and be kind of, just a recurring presence. It's kind of nice because it took so much to to beat him the first time. And curious thing about this is this actually might not be canon now, because the Dragon Ball Z Super show kind of goes through the arcs of Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, as well as continuing on with other stuff. So the show is kind of broadening this out a little bit, and not sure how I feel about that, because I really enjoyed these movies, but it is kind of what it is. And anyway, for just the animation, the action, the comedy that is there, the continuation of the story, Frieza, all that makes it to. And Vegeta gets cheated a little bit in this movie, but he does get a small moment to shine, which was nice. But for all those reasons, I have put this at number 6. So coming in at number 5, I have Bardock, the father of Goku. For those of you, I'm sure watching this, but in case you don't, Bardock is obviously Goku's dad, and this showcases him for events that lead up to Frieza destroying planet Vegeta. And I really like this movie. I really like the character of Bardock. It's funny though, because I was watching the movie and I was thinking, man, he looks like he's really close to, like, he should become Super Saiyan based on some of these events. Like, I'm not sure why he's not, but he's proven he's a capable fighter. And even though he gets beat a couple times, he just keeps on going, keeps on pushing forward, which you really gotta like him for that. Frieza doesn't have as much of a presence, but it is Frieza, and you get a little bit into, and just a little bit into his mind, like we did with the show. So you get that glimpse of what he's all about. And like I said, overall, this movie it really worked for me. It worked for me as far as the story narrative went, and as far as the characters, and even the side characters, not just Bardock. And it worked. The action worked really well. Animation, was fine. It's the kind of older style animation that we were used to. But overall, I just think this movie was just a pleasant surprise, and I really enjoyed seeing it. And that's why this movie came in at number 5. So coming in on the list at number 4, I have Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. Broly is back on this list, and this is the first movie in which he is introduced to us. And I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I enjoyed the second one, certainly than the third one. Thing is, like, this again, movie has a little bit of a slow build up getting into it, all with Broly and his dad, and kind of tricking Vegeta to go to this planet with this whole idea that this comet's gonna come shooting into the planet and destroy it and kill Vegeta for some revenge thing. The plot's really kind of there. But that being said, and Broly's reasoning for hating Goku is hilarious. I just want to point that out. But with all that being said, Broly was ridiculous. He just had this ridiculous strength to him that showcased, and he had so much power, he couldn't even contain it half the time he was fighting. But you had, Vegeta, Piccolo, Goku, you had Gohan, Future Trunks, all fighting to try to stop this guy who's consumed by madness and rage, and kind of raw power. And for most of the movie, they couldn't do anything at all. And then Goku finally, was able to step up to the plate with some help and defeat Broly. And he didn't even, we find out from the second one, he didn't even kill Broly. So to see someone in just Super Saiyan form be that overpowered, that menacing, that strong was just, it was great to see in the movie, because it literally came down to the final few seconds, and it wasn't quite the same as some of the other movies where it was like, oh well, all of a sudden they got a new power level and that's it. There seemed like there was a little bit more of a struggle on this one. So, for those kind of reasons, this movie came in at number 4 for me. So I really enjoyed it, and I think if y'all haven't seen it, you most certainly will too. So at number 3, we got History of Trunks. This movie takes place for future Trunks, for the kind of current timeline. It takes place on an alternate one for future Trunks, and he has to, just as a baby, all these characters that we know kind of die off within the first few minutes due to the androids 17 and 18. And so he grows up in this world where these androids just kind of show up and start wreaking havoc and killing people and doing whatever they want, and the only one that can really fight against them is Gohan. So Gohan becomes kind of the mentor to Trunks that Piccolo was to Gohan. And there are, Gohan's trying to teach him about becoming a Super Saiyan, and what have you. And I really liked this movie. It was a bit of a darker movie. It was really interesting to see this play out, because we've heard about this from the show when future Trunks shows up and defeats Frieza, and then warns everybody about what's happening. So, but it was really cool to see this play out, particularly Gohan's death, and Trunks kind of becoming a Super Saiyan as a result of that. And then obviously he still doesn't have the power to defeat these androids, so he's forced to go back and in time to try to warn Goku and everybody of what's happening so that they can stop it. But I really liked this movie. I thought the story was great. I thought the characters, there's only a few characters actually in it, but I really enjoyed them. Really loved the action. There's full-on scenes that always stand out to me from this movie, which is that's a good indicator of how good the movie is. So for me, it ends up on number 3. So coming in at number 2, we have Bojack Unbound. Again, another movie I really enjoyed. Bojack, kind of how he came about, I was like, okay, I can buy into that. And you have this other martial arts tournament taking place, so we get to see Tien do a little fighting with future Trunks, which was kind of cool. But for the most part, it's just kind of there to set up the Bojack kind of entering and everything. But I really liked some of the fights in it. I liked future Trunks. I don't even know if they mentioned his name, but he fights one of Bojack's kind of underlings, and that was a really cool fight. That I really enjoyed that. You got the kind of the fight with Bojack and everyone from Piccolo to Vegeta to especially Gohan, but you got Tien and Yamcha just kind of there, but you got a lot of good action pieces, and Gohan really steps up in this movie, and that was really cool to see, because Gohan doesn't do a whole lot in this series, and it was really disappointing. I really wanted to see him be showcased better, and aside from Cell, he just doesn't do anything, and it's mostly a Goku type of show, and I like it more when they're spread out a little bit and they give a little bit of focus to everyone. And this one, Gohan does. He does step into the spotlight, and it was really cool. Like it's normal. You have humor in it. There's some moments that are really good. Some humor moments that are just not. And Krillin, I don't know how many times he got pwned in this, in this, in this movie, but I'm sure it was quite a few. But I actually thought all of the set pieces were nice. All the battle set pieces were really nice. All of Bojack's kind of minions were great, and their fighting was really good. Again, you got action sequences that really worked for me outside of Gohan, but especially Gohan. Really liked the last fight that happened, even if it was, again, a little one-sided all of a sudden. I really liked it all the same. I really dug this movie. And Goku does step in for a minute, but they go back to that. They kind of reference that at the end there, and I thought it was really funny how they did that. So for that reason, Bojack Unbound comes in at number 2. So for number 1, how could I possibly leave this movie off? We have Battle of Gods. Battle of Gods for me, it works on so many levels, and I don't want to go into it too much. I have a lot of points that I bring up in my review of it, so hopefully you've seen that. If not, go check it out. But for me, this movie, when they came back and they said that Akira Toriyama was going to be fully invested in making this movie, like he was going to be kind of behind this movie, more so than I've seen for all of these on my list, except for Resurrection F. And it's been so long since we actually had a Dragon Ball Z, series. We've actually had his stamp on anything. It was just great. It was really just great to hear that he was coming back, because there's a lot of stuff that he does well about the series. The series has flaws for sure, and honestly, someday I'm sure I could sit there and just go through and pick off every single flaw, and they would add up to quite a bit, unfortunately. But he brought the action, he brought the humor. I like the way the plot goes. It's very, very smooth. You have all these characters get little cameos. You have a villain that I can actually get behind, so it's not a throwaway villain. Things don't conclude the way that they standardly conclude in some of these movies, and I really enjoyed that. I like it when they take a sidestep away from the norm of what we see and actually gives us something different. You got a moment again for Vegeta, who's one of my favorite characters, but he gets a small moment to shine, which I thought was really cool. It's kind of self referential in a way. Like there's moments or there's small little jokes that they make regarding kind of anime and stuff. So overall, like, this movie, just for everything it has, and I can't really say that it's lacking too much. Animation's great and everything, the music's great. I love this movie. This is, for me, this is what Dragon Ball Z movies should be. So for that reason, it's my number 1.
Having just completed his top 10 Dragon Ball Z movie list, it seems that Tnashi has finished yet another video. But will the fans respond? Will he get comments saying what their own favorite top 10 list? And will he finally get some views? Tune in next time on the exciting episode of Tnashi's Movie Corner to find out.